Hey, Bob.
What are your thoughts right now?
White House.
Thoughts right now?
We have a great country. That's my thoughts. Greatest country in the world. Great. We will make it even greater. And it won't take long. It's not going to take long to see what's going on. It's coming back. It's coming back strong. It'll be greater than ever before.
Do you run the risk of further inflaming tensions by using the U.S. military, Mr. President? Are you prepared to use the president against the U.S. Are you prepared to use the U.S. military against the U.S.
Much. We have the greatest country in the world. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to keep it nice and safe.
Hold right here. Hold right here.
Hold a second. Hold for a second, please. Good.
What were soldiers met with overnight? Was there resistance? And what did they face in their missions overnight?
Well, as they responded, some of our forces did not receive much resistance. Others did receive some, verbal communications from some of the civilians out there on the in the environment. There were some instances where there was some spray painting of some of our vehicles and egg throwing to the vehicles, but we were able to de-escalate those in a very good fashion and help accomplish the mission of our civilian partners.
Lieutenant Colonel, how do we feel about tonight with the extra soldiers being called in? How are you feeling about this plan tonight?
Well, tonight I feel very comfortable with the plan that's being developed. Again, the request for our additional forces is being met, and we're able to provide those and stage them where the city, the state, and the multi-agency control or coordination center is asking us to be at. So we're currently in the process of linking up with our State Patrol, Minneapolis Police Department partners, and we're currently preparing for those missions, and I feel comfortable that we'll be able to support and help heal our city.
Lieutenant Colonel, just yesterday we were told that there was not a lot of clear direction at the beginning of your mission when the National Guard was originally called in, that you were not given directives. Has that changed now? Do you feel there is a clear picture of what your mission is and what the soldiers here are being asked to do to help restore order here in Minneapolis?
I do. I feel like it's becoming more and more clear each night that we provide this support. You know, obviously, as you continue to do operations like this, the process tends to get better and better as we start to learn. For a lot of us, this is something new that we haven't experienced this type of vast, violence and civil unrest as we are seeing here. So we're continuing to work with our partners. We continue to develop process improvements so that we can respond in a better and more clear fashion each night.
We were seeing you overnight, that clear presence overnight. Throughout the daylight, what can people expect as now we are at 8:12 this morning? Will we see your presence throughout the day today as well?
You will. We still have forces that are out throughout the community, supporting in security operations and presence patrol type operations. So you will see a National Guard presence out there. And again, we're continuing to posture ourselves and prepare ourselves for anything that may come down the pike for tonight in support of our city.
700 soldiers and airmen last night, an extra 1,000 tonight, largest domestic deployment in the Minnesota National Guard's 164-year history. Lieutenant Colonel, thanks for being with us on WCCO this morning. Good luck tonight.
We just watched President Trump. He was at St. John's Parish right next to the White House, and he didn't really say much. And that was a very powerful and symbolic statement by the president that I greatly admired and appreciated. Sometimes it's not the words and saying a lot of words, but it's actions. And that was a very meaningful gesture that the president made there as he held the Bible up in front of St. John's Parish or Church in Washington, D.C. while the country is under attack by traitors. And the peaceful and meaningful protests that made sense after George Floyd was murdered. He didn't die from health issues that he had. He was murdered. And I talked about that in another video, but it's time to move beyond that and allow the system to do its work. And yeah, the murderer should have probably been given, I think, first-degree murder, if not second-degree, but we're not going to harp on that. It doesn't mean you turn your back on your country. I think overall we have great law enforcement for the most part, and I know it varies from department to department and from agency to agency, but I think most are good. Of course, there are some departments and agencies we've seen that are corrupt and that do bad things, and they actually promote brutality with their officers and stuff. But that's not the norm. Normally, that type of thing isn't tolerated. In these days, we're in the year 2020 now, and I think we've moved beyond a lot of this stuff. But still, there are little areas like Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they are still holding on to the old ways. Last night I watched Tucker Carlson scold both the left and the right, and rightfully so, as people are maybe not directly but inadvertently on both sides of the aisle kind of promoting or justifying the violence, and I don't think that's right. It's one thing to call something out for being wrong. For example, the murder of George Floyd was wrong. So it's one thing to mention that and acknowledge that. It's a different thing to target innocent people who had nothing to do with it and innocent businesses in our economy. This is our economy. And target these things and attack these things. It had nothing to do with it. That's cowardly. you if there's an issue or somebody does something wrong, you take it to that person. You don't go and attack innocent people. And Tucker Carlson last night, not only did he talk about that, but they showed footage of now white people being attacked by groups and by mobs just for being white, which is just as wrong as somebody being killed, for being a different race or a different nationality. And they showed, I'm not going to show these stories or cases. You guys can look them up. It's too disturbing and graphic, but I'll just mention what I saw, a little bit of it, and these are just a few cases. We saw a business attacked, and a male and a female, the business owners, I guess they lived on property adjacent to the business, like maybe upstairs or something. It was one of those kinds of buildings, a little mom and pop type of business. And when they came down to confront the people who were trying to loot the business, the mob attacked them pretty brutally. They used 2x4s and stuff. And I saw other attacks of innocent people attacked, in many cases with objects and weapons, brutally attacked. We saw a case of a young man who was attacked with a large rock and skateboards or something like that. He was basically left in a bloody heap on the ground. Looked like his arm was broke, twisted around. And there's some of these cases, they don't know if the people are going to survive, and if they do survive, it looks like they're going to be physically disabled. That's how bad some of these people have been beaten. And so this gesture by Trump meant a lot. And what's happening now is criminals are exploiting the situation and exploiting the topic and the protests. They're exploiting it by, again, it's turning political, where the people who are against Trump, his political enemies, are using this situation to exploit it at the expense of the people. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but first let me get into this while I'm on this page. I've got this information in front of me now. And it says, bombshell, anonymous releases proof of Trump / Epstein rape allegation of 13-year-old female. First of all, this is an old story. This is an old story, and Anonymous is a coward. Here it is. It says, Anonymous at your Anon Central. And Anonymous is a coward Anonymous is such a coward that not only does Anonymous not show their face, they won't even let you hear their voice, their real voice. That's how scared and how much of a coward Anonymous is. And if anyone wants to listen to a coward, why, be my guest. But let's just, as comparison, in contrast, let's look at a gentleman like Paladin WH, who doesn't want to show, because of the nature, he's a private investigator, and because of the nature of his business, he doesn't like to show his face. He keeps his face anonymous. But the thing with Paladin WH is a couple of differences between somebody like him and Anonymous. Paladin WH uses his real voice, and he is a real American, and he expresses admirable positions and views and stuff, and he gives good information. He really does. So, and then you take somebody like Anonymous, for example, completely different. This person, not only do they not show their face, they won't use their real voice. This is a coward, and they never have anything positive to say. In fact, a lot of it is lies or propaganda, and I'm going to explain that here. It says here, you had Jeffrey Epstein killed to cover up your history of child trafficking and rape. We have the receipts here, and then there's a link for Twitter, and he's talking about Trump. The problem is the idiot that wrote this can't even spell receipts. They forgot the extra E. They put RECIPTS, and they forgot that there's another E. And then it says It looks like Trump said something back. He says it's Antifa and the radical left, don't lay the blame on others. But then an Anonymous continues, in case you are wondering what Russia has on the real Donald Trump, it's blackmail on organized crime, in particular human/child trafficking and rape. Maybe the police should stop shooting protesters and arrest real criminals. And Anonymous basically goes on to blabber off a bunch of other nonsense that I'm not going to even bother reading, because I'm going to show you this. The case that they're talking about turned out to be fraudulent or untrue. It was defamation. They were trying to assassinate Trump's character. The allegations go all the way back to 1994. It looks like it says here that Jane Doe versus Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So there was something that was filed. There was a case. It was in 2016 that went all the way back to 1994. So, gosh, that's 20. I mean, unless my math is off today, usually it's pretty good. Sometimes my brain isn't operating as quick, but I'd say that's 22 years from 1994 to 2016 is 22 years. So it took them 22 years to file this suit, this lawsuit against Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And I didn't really look at it, but there's no doubt they were asking for money, trying to get money, or trying to hurt Trump, assassinate his character. And it says here that the case was dismissed 2 months later. That's pretty quick. Usually cases aren't dismissed that quick. So this person who, Anonymous, this coward, is bringing up old stuff. It has no foundation or anything to back it up or support it. It's nonsense. Here's a story: police and National Guard shooting civilians on their own property. Well, they're not bothering me. That's probably because I'm not bothering them. I respect the police and I respect the military. And if I need to call them out on something, I'm specific about it. I call out specific names, specific people, and I don't alienate or villainize all police or the entire military, because that's ignorance, that's foolishness. So no, they're not perfect. We've seen corruption, but the smart person who isn't a coward calls it out and names specific people, specific groups, and they don't villainize or alienate entire groups or organizations. Like, say, for example, by saying all police or all military. That's nonsense. There's plenty of good police and military, and if there weren't, we wouldn't have the freedom and the peace that we have. But you can see people are ruining it, and Trump's going to make sure that doesn't happen. I know that I've been a little bit critical of Trump lately because of him saying that Dr. Fauci is a very good person and blaming the COVID-19 all on China. That bothered me a little bit when we have evidence that there was U.S. involvement in the funding and engineering of the COVID-19 bioweapon. But you got to forget about that and move past that. And who knows, maybe there's something in the works. I like to listen to Brad Johnson, former CIA agent, and his organization. I believe it's Intelligence for Reform or something like that. I'll see if I can get something up on the screen for you guys about Brad Johnson, though. But you guys can check out Brad Johnson. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Love Brad Johnson. He talks a lot about things that are in the works, indictments that are in the works, and a lot of people like Bill Barr. And then so you can check out Brad Johnson. He talks about things that are in the works as far as holding a lot of people accountable, and he talks about John Brennan a lot lately, and it looks like John Brennan's going to be held accountable for a lot of his deep state corruption and actions. But we'd also like to see some of these other big elites and names like Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, and George Soros held accountable too at some point, and until Trump really starts to drain the swamp, because I don't think it's really a swamp. I think it's a deep ocean, and it goes much deeper and than people think. So Trump really has to get on the ball and start cracking down on his claims of draining the swamp. But he's still our president. I'm still an American, and I'll tell you what: when people want to start getting like this, like they're getting now, that's just I'm not going to criticize Trump at all. I'm just going to support him even more. So, and that's what I think people should do. People want to start making those crazy allegations again, like the Russian collusion and all this nonsense and what they did to Michael Flynn. They want to start doing that stuff again. Well, I'll just start supporting Trump to the fullest again, like I was before. And then if they want to stop doing that, we can start asking the real questions and maybe look at who the best leader might be. But for now, it's Trump. Here's something else. It says Sunday afternoon, President Donald Trump tweeted that he was designating Antifa as a terrorist organization. Antifa is an organization that I haven't really looked into too much. I haven't done like a major investigation or a real serious look at them. I'll tell you what though, everything that I have seen about them has been 100% completely bad and negative. And that's all I don't even need to look to. All I know for a fact that the more I look into Antifa, the more negative and worse that I'll see that they are. There's nothing good about Antifa. They never do anything good. If anything, you look into them and you investigate them, you find out who's funding them. And I think we all probably already know, and that's the deep state and the shadow government, this cabal. I've never seen Antifa do anything like honorable or courageous. It's always cowardly stuff. They seem like a cowardly organization. And anyone that has like a gang with them or a mob with them, and they're doing all this rioting, and they go and attack one person who's alone, that's cowardly. They're not tough people, they're cowards. And now I'm glad that Antifa is being labeled a terrorist organization. And I'm glad that the police are going to crack down and the National Guard is going to crack down on these cowards who are traitors to America, and they're breaking the law. Just as much, if not worse, than the murderer who murdered George Floyd. Now all these people are just like that guy, just like the murderer who murdered George Floyd. They're no better. In fact, a lot of them are worse. They're even worse, and they're going to pay for it. Here's an article: you no longer have a First Amendment right. Well, I'm not going to bother reading that because I'm able to do whatever I want and say whatever I want. No one's bothering me. But then again, I'm not running around with a mob attacking one person by themselves who isn't even doing anything wrong like a coward either. So that's probably why I still feel like I have my First Amendment right. Here's an article: police brutality at anti-police brutality protests. We cannot ignore this. Well, some people are not really the smartest, and they're just a little bit slow learning. So certain departments are brutal and maybe have a deal with corruption, and they're told to be tough, real tough, and they actually reward being brutal and being tough. We've seen that in some departments. Other departments, like I said earlier, it's not tolerated. But some departments, they're gonna really, just as tough as the crowd wants to be, the police are going to be even tougher and even more brutal. And then they want to go out and do that, and then they want to cry when the police are being brutal. And by the way, this doesn't apply to George Floyd or anyone like that. He wasn't really doing anything wrong. He was innocent until proven guilty. He was a suspect of something that didn't seem very serious, and the most that we could see that Floyd was doing was just being mouthy, maybe at the worst, which didn't justify what happened. So I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about people who are running around and starting fires and breaking stuff and smashing cars. I've seen not only them smashing police cars, but I've seen them smash civilian cars, regular old civilians just like they are, getting their cars smashed, and now they're attacking people, just anyone. For example, if they're white, or if it's a business owner and you're looting their business and they come out and say something, then the mob is attacking them. So we're seeing stuff like this. So that now they want to cry because the police are being brutal when they're being brutal. And you can't do that. You can't, if you want the police to have a new standard, and a lot of them have a higher standard now where they don't do stuff like this. It's a rare department that does this type of thing. And if you want there to be a new standard, a high standard, then the people, just like the police are supposed to set an example. Everyone has to set an example. You can't expect the police to set an example and then people turn around. But I'm not calling these regular people. I'm calling them the traitors and cowards who are doing these things. And I'm just going to run down some headlines here. Gun store owner shoots, kills looter in Philadelphia, report says. Good. More gun store owners should, in my opinion. I'm definitely pro Second Amendment. I'm pro Constitution in general, and definitely, and I'm an NRA Life member, and I say do it, business owners. If you're gonna make a stand to protect your business, which you should be able to. Don't be like the gentleman and his wife who went out empty-handed and got a mud hole stomped in them by the mob. If you need to stand your ground, do it like the gun owner in Philadelphia did, the store owner. And if you have to shoot someone who's looting or threatening your life or your property, then that's what you have to do. Do it the right way. Be smart about it. That's what the Second Amendment's for. So good to that store owner in Philadelphia. And I'm surprised. I've been really, really surprised about a few things. I've been surprised that we haven't seen more people using firearms in all of this, especially people who for example, if they're being targeted by a mob, or they're a little mom and pop company and they happen to live upstairs above their business and their property is being broken into. I'm shocked. It's shocking to me that we haven't heard more cases of people using firearms to defend themselves. So, and then the other thing is there was a story that Tucker Carlson, I always forget his name, was talking about last night, where a gentleman all he was doing was carrying an American flag, and he was attacked and stomped just for carrying an American flag. In fact, the guy that attacked him initially, the gentleman was driving him off with the flag in one hand, because I guess the guy wasn't too tough that tried attacking him. And the gentleman with the flag, the patriot holding the flag, drove the criminal off, and he warded this threat off. And then other people jumped in, very cowardly, and then they all attacked the gentleman, the patriot, holding the flag, just because he was holding an American flag. That's pretty weak in my mind. And now here's a headline. I'm not going to read the story. If this is true, this is horrible, but it says the USA is officially dead now that rioters tried to burn a child to death. So, I'll tell you what, if that's what they want to start doing, then that's why Trump's talking about the police getting tough, and the National Guard and the military are going to come in and they're going to get tough. And that's why I'm telling people, don't hesitate to utilize your constitutional right and the Second Amendment to defend yourself, and be tough. Don't let your family be attacked or your children attacked. That's just horrible. So, and I'm gonna leave you guys with this clip one more time about showing Trump at the St. John's Parish in Washington, D.C. in the Capitol. And St. John is a very special person in esoteric circles and in religious circles. St. John is very revered, and there's the two Johns that are very revered. There's John the Baptist, and then there was John the Evangelist. So, and there's a St. John's Day, and it's a holiday, and so very powerful symbol for Trump to stand in front of St. John's Church and holding the Bible. And the Bible is our guiding light, and that's what guides us. So I was really touched and moved, and I'm going to leave you guys with this clip one more time. We'll watch this clip of Trump, and I'm glad that they're labeling these organizations, call them out for what they are. And Antifa seems like it's a terrorist organization. I don't blame them for labeling it that. And you guys may notice that I'm uploading. I'm going to try to upload another gaming video, a funny one, to try to. Sometimes a little bit of laughter can help heal. So you guys may see that I'm trying to put together a gaming video. It's a compilation of some older videos that I have, and I'll try to put something funny together for everyone and lighten up the mood a little bit. This is a tough time for everyone.